Thank you, Leanne, for setting this up really nicely to get started. So this morning, I'm going to be talking specifically about prevalence of trends and disparities in beverage consumption among the youngest children from birth to 24 months using the NHANES data. And I'll be discussing in particular two papers that have recently been published, both of them using NHANES data from 2005 to 2012. All the respondents, as I said, are less than 24 months old. The Grimes paper includes all of the children from 2005 to 2012 to be able to estimate prevalence and have strong enough prevalence by age groups, and then looks at them by race, ethnicity, and income. And both papers are using one 24-hour recall. Myself and Gandharvika Miles, who happened to be my graduate student at UNC, we published in pediatrics and using the same data. However, what we're very interested in is looking at food group consumption and looking at trends in food group consumption from 2005, 2008 to 2009, 2012. And we've calculated the prevalence of consumption adjusted for mother's age at birth and income to poverty ratio. You have to understand that NHANES data, while the surveys now are out there every single year, in order to get enough numbers in these age groups, you do have to combine the data across the survey years in order to get some stable estimates. So the first slide that I wanted to show you was looking at food sources of total energy intake among 0 to 24 months old. And what you have here are the three different age groups from 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and then 12 to 23 months. And you can quickly see, you know, for the most earliest children, that in fact you see the typical things: infant formula, human milk, and baby foods. And then when we move up to the 6 to 12 months, we begin to see the contribution of 100% fruit juice, okay? And it becomes even more important to total energy intake when you approach the 12 to the 24-month age group, as well as now sugar-sweetened beverages are becoming important in this particular age group, representing 3.1% of total energy intake. Now the story is just a little bit different for total sugars. So these are the food groups that are contributing to total sugar intake. Each pie, once again, represents the different age groups. So you can see the 0 to 6, 9 month old, the fact that it's just infant formula, human milk, and baby foods contributing total sugar intake. When we get to the 6 to 12 month olds, you begin to see here the contribution of fruit juice, and then fruit juice to the 12 to 24 month old, and then sweetened beverages are coming in. So I think what's important to understand is while this symposium is looking at sugar-sweetened beverage intake, the fact is fruit juice intake is one of the first sweet beverages that are being introduced. They do actually contribute substantially to both the total energy intake as well as total sugar intake, but then sugar-sweetened beverages are also starting to play a role here, okay? This slide, let me walk you through it a little bit. It looks at the proportion of children consuming each type of beverage, and you can see the different beverages across the x-axis over here. This is the proportion consumed. And what I'm showing to you here are the different beverage consumptions that we are caring about. That's 100% fruit juice. It shows the drastic increase in the prevalence of consumption by age group. So here you have it for the youngest kids, about 6%. It goes to about 38%, all the way up to 57% by the time you get to the 12 to 24 month olds. When you look at sugar-sweetened beverages, you see a similar increase with just about 1% of infants from 0 to 6 months old actually consuming it, going to 6% from the 6 to 12, and then up to 32% of infants from 12 to 24 months are actually consuming a sugar-sweetened beverage. This paper also did a very nice graphic trying to understand water, the per capita daily intake of water from beverages and food sources. Once again, you see the 3 different age groups over here, and these are the different sources of water. So you can see that sweetened beverages over here is, and I don't have my eyeglasses on, but it's sort of like this greenish blue color. It's very small in terms of contributing to the water intake. And what you see a little bit more is the fact that fruit juices, where are my fruit juices? They're here somewhere, right here in the green, are contributing more. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the trends. So I wanted to set the framework for trends for the different types of milk. So we have breast milk, formula, and cow's milk. You see each of the age groups now, 0 to 6 is in blue, 6 to 11 in orange, and then the older in green. And you can see basically that there's very similar sort of prevalence of consumption for all of these particular types of milks across all the years. So there really aren't that many changes whatsoever. However, for fruit juice, what we actually see is a decrease in fruit juice consumption in 2009 and 2012 compared to 2005 and 2008 for the youngest kids, okay? So that's the 0 to 6 months old and then the 6 to 12 months old. When we look for sweetened beverages, these are the different types of sweetened beverages that we can look at: carbonated soda, fruit-flavored drinks, sport drinks, pre-sweetened tea, or other beverages. And you can actually see that there really aren't that many changes. This little cross basically says that the estimate's very unstable. But there's a little bit of a different story when we actually compare these trends by race and ethnicity. And what you see here is the fact that we're seeing a decrease intake in overall consumption of sweetened beverages among Mexican Americans. And when we specifically look at the type of beverage that we've seen a decrease, it happens to be soda consumption. So Mexican Americans are giving less soda to their infants from 6 to 24 months old, whereas you really don't see that across the other age groups, the other ethnic groups. And in fact, you kind of see a little bit of an increase among non-Hispanic whites that we need to pay attention to maybe. And then this is what it is for fruit-flavored drinks. Once again, there were no significant findings here, but you do see that non-Hispanic blacks and Mexican American infants and toddlers are consuming more fruit-flavored drinks than non-Hispanic whites. And for all 3 of these groups, we tend to see a little bit more of slight decrease. So the overall summary is that fruit juice compromises 1.5% of total energy for 6 to 12-month-olds and triples its contribution to the diet of young children by the time they get to 24 months of age. Fruit juice contributes more total sugar intake than sugar-sweetened beverages. The consumption of fruit juices increases with age, with 6% of kids at the earliest age group consuming it, to 57% of children are consuming it by the time they get to 12 to 24 months. There's a lower intake of fruit juices in 2009, 2012 among the youngest age groups here, which is a good sign. Overall trends for sugar-sweetened beverage consumption can be summarized as the fact that they contribute 3.1% of total energy for the 12 to 24-month-olds. Sugar-sweetened beverages actually makes a small contribution of total sugar intake for the 6 to 12 months, but increases to the 4th highest contributor of total sugar intake by the time children get to the 12 to 24-month age group. It begins early, which is giving a little bit of credit to what Leanne is basically telling us, that you have 1% when you wouldn't anticipate any children consuming a sugar-sweetened beverage during 0 to 6 months. It goes to 6%, and then it ends up being 32% by the time children are in their 2nd year of life. While there's no significant differences in the type of sugar-sweetened beverage consumption across the survey time periods, we do see differences by race ethnicity, such that Mexican Americans are consuming less overall sugar-sweetened beverage, and particularly soda consumption. And while non-Hispanic, Blacks, and Mexican American children have higher consumption of fruit-flavored drinks, all the consumptions of the fruit-flavored drinks appear to be declining. Thank you very much.